The game on Thursday night between the Hurricanes and the Wild saw everything from goals to milestones to fights and so much more. It went from mild to wild really fast, and the Carolina Hurricanes held on to win 4-3. We're going to talk about all of it on a Friday edition of Locked On Hurricanes.
You're Locked On Hurricanes, your daily podcast on the Carolina Hurricanes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Friday edition of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you to the Everyday for making this your first listen of the day. 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, talking everything about your Carolina Hurricanes. I'm your host, Zach Martin. I'm the credentialed Carolina Hurricanes beat writer over at the Hockey Writers, also the co-host of the Surge Cast, which is a weekly Carolina Hurricanes podcast, along with all my duties here at Locked On Hurricanes. On the Friday edition of the show, we're going to be going over the game that happened on Thursday night between the Hurricanes and the Wild. Basically, for the fact, too, on top of all that happened, Jordan Staal set a new milestone. We're talking about just a chaos and a flurry of goals through the first and second periods. We get to hear from Sean Walker during segment 2 and even from the captain himself in segment 3. But before we jump into all of that, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. And holy, my goodness, this game was absolutely crazy right from the rip between the Hurricanes and the Wild. I mean, for the most part, it was pretty even up until the 5:34 mark, and Matt Boldy scored not once but twice in this game. But then later on in that period, this is where the chaos really ensued for the fact that the Hurricanes and the Wild combined for 3 goals in a span of 52 seconds. This is the fastest 3 tallies by 2 different teams since the Blues and the Kraken did this earlier this year in 2025 back in April, which took 50 seconds. Now, what led to all of that? Well, how about a goal from Jackson Blake at 12:53 to tie it 1-1 for his 4th of the season? Brock Faber, 31 seconds later, for his second, makes it 2-1. And then 21 seconds later, Andrei Svechnikov, for his 3rd of the season, tied the game 2-2. And that wasn't even the end of it. Sean Walker, over 3 minutes later, makes it 3-2 Carolina Hurricanes for his 3rd of the season. So yeah, in a span of from 12:53 in the first period to 16:51, so you're talking almost 4 minutes exactly. You're talking like 3 minutes and 58 seconds. You saw 4 goals in a span of basically almost 4 minutes. And 3 of them came from the Carolina Hurricanes, and it was Blake, Svechnikov, and Walker. And that wasn't even all of it, too, because in the second period, Matt Boldy scores 37 seconds into the period on the power play to make it 3-3. And then Nikolaj Ehlers, his second goal of the season, second goal and 2 goals in back-to-back games, and it ends up being back-to-back games with a game-winning goal because his second of the year, 9 seconds later after the Matt Boldy goal, makes it 4-3 with a tap-in of his own from Jackson Blake. And that was it. That was your game winner. So with the fact that you look at the 5 goals in the first period, you had 4 of them almost in a span of exactly 4 minutes, and then you had 2 quick goals in the second period, 37 seconds into the period, and then 9 seconds after that one, it's 4-3, and that was pretty much it for the rest of the game. And that, for me, that's the thing that was kind of just absolutely wild, for the fact that you had 3 goals in 52 seconds, 4 in almost 4 minutes, and then you had 2 back-to-back to kick off the second period. And that's the kind of what was a done deal. And the thing, too, is you look at Jackson Blake with a multi-point game. He had the first goal for the Hurricanes, and then he had the tap-in assist, the assist on the tap-in goal for Nikolaj Ehlers. So there's his multi-point night. And then Sean Walker, how about getting the assist on the Jackson Blake goal, and then he scores his 3rd of the season to make it 3-2 Hurricanes after the Andrei Svechnikov goal to make it 2-2. And here's the thing with Walker, that is the first time in his career that he's had back-to-back multi-point games. Of course, that's big things to Kane's stat brand, but that tells you how crazy this game was. And that's not even the fact that Jordan Staal is now the all-time leader in games played for the Hurricanes since relocation to Raleigh back in 1997. 910 games for the captain. He just surpassed his brother Eric, who had 909. That's just a crazy thing to think about, too. The fact that you got Jordan Staal has been for the Hurricanes that long, that he's played over 910 games to be the all-time leader in games played in a Canes jersey. And on top of that, he got a 10-minute game misconduct, a 5-minute major, and a 2-minute instigator on a play where Tyler Pitlick gets a 10-minute misconduct and a 5-minute for fighting. For the misconduct was the illegal check to the head for Jalen Chatfield, and of course Jordan Staal, being the captain and probably his first fight in 8 seasons, goes in absolutely just wins the fight against Tyler Pitlick and stands up for his teammate, which is we'll hear more about that in segment 3, but it's good to see the captain step up for for Jalen Chatfield, and it sucks too because the Hurricanes are desperately having to deal with more issues on the blue line because they just sent Dominic Fensori down, and now Jalen Chatfield is hurt after you just got Kendra Miller back for this game. So they had to play with 5 defensemen for pretty much the entire game because he got taken out in the first period, unfortunately, with a basically chicken wing, elbow up headshot. And it's just, and the thing is, with the game misconduct, it's already going to be under review, and I would not be surprised if the NHL not the PA, but the NHL, disciplinary and all that stuff. Hopefully they do the right thing because you can't have headshots like that. That was a clear headshot from Pitlick on Chatfield because he missed the rest of the game and you saw his elbow go up, and you have to think there's got to be a suspension there. But yeah, this was all in the first period. Like I said, you lose Jalen Chatfield. The captain stands up for him. He gets a 17 minutes of penalty time. So he's basically, for most of the first and part of the second, he's just having to sit in the box watching the team play. And then on top of that, you got 5 goals in the first period. You get 2 in the second. And you end up winning the game 4-3, which is what you really love to see. And on top of that, too, shot total 7-3 in the first period, 14-7 in the second, then it was 14-6 in the third for Minnesota. But Carolina was at one point holding Minnesota to 2 shots in the first part of the third period. And that's back-to-back games they're holding teams to under 10 shots in 2 periods for the most part. And the thing, too, is the Hurricanes won the faceoff battle 52.9% to 47.1%. The Hurricanes only had 2 power plays, really, but they weren't really significant power play times. And the thing is, they went 2 for 3 on the penalty kill. Of course, the power play goal for Matt Boldy was a tap-in, so you kind of wish you went for the 100%, but it's still overall not bad at all. But this game was just absolutely nuts from start to finish. Like I said, you get the fact that at one point the Hurricanes are 4 goals on 9 shots, and which is just wild to think about. But like I said, Jackson Blake, 2 points in the game, 1 shot, 1 block. His 1 shot went in the goal, and you love to see that. Aho with an assist, Jarvis with an assist, Ehlers with a goal. Andre, I didn't even mention, and like I said, Andrei Svechnikov got a goal, and he finished with a +2 in the game, along with Aho. And the fact too is, you look at the defense. How about 2 points for Sean Walker? Kendra Miller in his first game back gets the assist. Oh, and Alexander Nikishin gets the assist on the Andrei Svechnikov goal, which is really great to see. Sean Walker, how about also leading the team in minutes? 24-49, Nikishin 24-42. And then Miller 23-13. Of course, they had to play a lot of minutes because, unfortunately, Jalen Chatfield only played 3 minutes and 49 seconds. And then in terms of the forwards, Sebastian Aho surprisingly played 23 minutes and 58 seconds, which is absurdly high compared to the fact that no other forward had over 20 minutes. But, of course, that's because of the fact that you had Jordan Staal out for a little while, so Aho had to play a lot of extra minutes. But I would say this is definitely a team win that was really crazy from start to finish, just with the fact that it was just a lot of back and forth early on. But the team dug deep there and managed to get the win despite just a crazy game where you basically lost Jalen Chatfield early. You had your captain in the box for 17 minutes, and then it's just like I said, a slew of goals in the span of 52 seconds, and then you get the Sean Walker goal to make it 3-2, like not even a couple minutes later, and then the 2 goals in the second period. But they held on. That's what really matters, and you're feeling pretty good about yourselves overall. Like I said, you win the game. It was definitely a wild one, and Frederick Anderson definitely wishes he had one of those goals back, but he did finish with an 875 save percentage and got another win. That's all you can really ask for out of that. But it was a total gutsy win for the Hurricanes, and they held on in the third period. And the thing too is that's 2 games in a row they broke winning streaks. Tuesday against the Rangers, and then Thursday night against the Wild. So let's talk a little bit more about Sean Walker, Nikolaj Ehlers, and Jackson Blake, and even hear from Sean Walker himself after the game. Stick around, we'll do that here in a second on a Friday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Let's be real. Making excuses doesn't solve anything. We've all heard them before. It's just stress. I'm tired. Or it happens to everyone sometimes. When it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support. And that's where Rouge comes in. Rouge.com offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. The process is fast, simple, and private, and it's all handled by real doctors. It's about confidence, connection, and getting back to the moments that matter. Visit rugiet.com/lockedonNHL to get 50% off your first order. That's rugiet.com/lockedonNHL. And don't forget to use our code LOCKEDONNHL so they know we sent you. Rouge it. Stop making excuses and start making moves. Welcome back to segment 2 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. So we talked about the game overall, but let's talk about Sean Walker, Nikolaj Ehlers, and Jackson Blake. And we're actually going to start with Jackson Blake here because you guys heard me say it on the Thursday show of Locked On Hurricanes to watch out for this guy because he's been on an absolute run so far for the Carolina Hurricanes. And yeah, while he hasn't scored points in the last 2 games prior going into the one against Minnesota, he's been on a nice little tear. And now the goal and assist definitely helps because now he's up to 4 goals and 10 points in 13 games is a +2, 2 power play points. However, the fact that he's also averaging 16 minutes and 5 seconds, which is a career high for him already. And we're talking 13 games where he played 80 last year and averaged 13.51, playing a mix of bottom 6 and top 6. And this year he started off on the top 6 right from the rip, and he's doing pretty well, things considered. 35 shots. How about 11.4 shooting percentage? Now, he had 12 last year, but right now, I think we could be looking at a 20 goal, 50-point season for Jackson Blake. And I think just getting power play 2 time and getting, second line minutes, especially the fact recently, too, of how good him, Stankoven, and Ehlers have been really good so far together. I would be hard-pressed to break that lineup right now because they've been pretty sneaky good for the Carolina Hurricanes during the Rangers and the Wild game, especially against the Wild game for sure. Those guys were absolutely ripping it up. So, I don't know. Right now, I mean, I know you brought in Nikolaj Ehlers to be like your first-line winger, but right now the connection with those 3 on the second line might be you're still first power play, which is what you really wanted to be. And yeah, if you're playing second line, but you're doing really well with those 2 guys, why not? If it's working, why break that up? So I think that could be a line we could see a little bit more of. And speaking of Nikolaj Ehlers, Ehlers he's been playing really, really well. I've been liking his game over the last few. I mean, you're talking about a guy who's now got goals in back-to-back games, back-to-back game winners too. And the thing is, outside of the Boston and the Vegas Golden Knights game where he didn't have any points, he's gotten 3 points in the last 5 games. That's pretty stellar for, when you're looking for Nikolaj Ehlers. I know some people will be like, how's that stellar? Well, You're talking about a guy who had a slow start, but then has come on strong as of late. 2 goals, 6 points in 13 games. He does have a power play goal, and now he's got 2 game-winning goals, and that's in back-to-back games. Now, granted, his shooting percentage is 5.3% on 38 shots, but you know the effort's there, and he's even said he's liking what he's been doing. It's just, he wants to get the goal. He's finally scored, and now he's scored in back-to-back games, and you love to see that for Nikolaj Ehlers. I think, just how he's been playing recently, especially when you put on that second line with Stankoven and Blake, maybe there could be a little something here that's going on for him. So I think you're going to be seeing something really big from Nikolaj Ehlers. And then Sean Walker. You guys have been hearing me talk about Sean Walker for a while now, even going back to last season, especially in the playoffs, where I thought he was very underrated. He was sneaky good, and he's been absolutely stellar for the Carolina Hurricanes this season. Very underrated. I don't think he's getting enough credit as he should, despite some people thinking that his struggles have really, have gone up, with all the guys on the blue line being out. But that's not the case at all, because now he's got multiple points in back-to-back games and goals in back-to-back games on top of that as well. How about 24 minutes and 16 seconds with 3 shots against the Rangers, 26 shifts, and then 31 shifts against Minnesota, 24-49, 1 shot, 1 goal. That's all you can really ask out of Sean Walker. Oh, and on top of that, he already has 3 goals and 5 points this year. Yes, he's a -2, but it's gotten better as over the last few games. But the thing also, he's averaging 23 minutes and 52 seconds. That is the most in his entire career. That's a career high in minutes for him. And his 10.3 shooting percentage, his 10.3% shooting percentage is also his career best right now. So right now, Sean Walker is playing some phenomenal hockey. Shooting percentage, way high. It's the first time it's ever been double digits for him. And the fact, too, is he's already 2 goals away from tying last year's goal total in 82 games for the Hurricanes. Also, he's only 3 goals shy of tying his career best that he did with the Flyers in his only season with Philadelphia back in 23-24, where he had 6. He had 22 points that season as well. And he's already up to 5 in 13 games. And then that season with Philly, that was in 63 games. So if you give him another 50 games, I think we could be seeing a career season from Walker. And I think that he definitely should get a lot more praise. That being said, let's hear from Sean Walker as he met with media after the game. We're going to do that right now.
Sean, another injury to one of your defensemen tonight. Just your thoughts on.
Yeah, it's not great, obviously. Chatty's a big part of our D-core, just like all the other guys. It's unfortunate that we kind of have this string of injuries going on, but it was great to have Key back tonight. We'll just stick with it, keep battling.
It takes a lot to get Jordan mad usually, but good to see a captain step up in that.
Yeah, absolutely. I said it on the ice. He set the tone, and we've talked a lot about it, supporting each other and standing up for each other, and to see your captain go out there and do it and be the first one in there, it's amazing. He's an amazing person, great player, better captain, so it's good to see.
Kind of crazy 10-15 minute span there, end of the first, start of the second. How'd you guys kind of lock in and refocus after how much kind of went down there?
Yeah, I mean, again, just kind of got back to our game plan. Again, you lose a guy, it's a little scrambly there. You're playing with a lot of different D partners, but Fords did a great job answering after any goals were scored, and we stuck with it.
How difficult is that when every shift it seems like you might be skating with someone else?
Yeah, it can be a little challenging for sure. I mean, you're trying to get used to playing with guys. I feel like we haven't really even had the chance yet with all the injuries, but maybe that's making it a little easier because we are just switching up so often. But yeah, again, just battle. Everybody knows the game plan, so just stuck with it.
Sean, did you see much on your goal? Did you see a little bit of traffic, enough traffic, and just figure to throw it to the net there?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely have talked about getting a lot more pucks to the net. I knew the power play was kind of winding down. Jarvis made a great pass to me, and when I looked up, I saw I could get it definitely by the first guy, and luckily it was a good screen by I think their guy, so it was good.
Do you put bubble wrap on at the end of every game just to make sure you can make it through that?
Yeah, it might not be a bad call at this point. Again, it seems really unfortunate that every game it seems like maybe someone's going to go down, so we'll just stick with it. Everybody's done a great job, even the guys that we've called up stepped in and really battled really hard and played well.
What did you think of the hit?
I don't really want to comment. I think the league will have a good look at that one, and we'll see some discipline.
Big thank you to Sean Walker and the Carolina Hurricanes as always for that. And talk about being the consummate professional for the fact that he got asked about the hit from Tyler Pillick, and he's like, I'm just not going to comment. I'm going to let the league do their thing. It shows that he just was like, hey, it is, they'll take care of it, but it's good to see that, you talk about the captain, how he stood up for Jalen Chatfield and the fact that the team had to scramble and figure stuff out and kind of go from there. And, he's just been on a great run. He's been very underrated this season for the Hurricanes. And I think Sean Walker, the contract that he signed is like in the second year of his 5-year deal. I think it's been worth every penny, especially the end of last season. And even this year, I think Sean Walker's really put himself into a good spot. And, you just hear from him like how everyone just kind of, the team needs to step up for each other. And they did. And they've, battled hard and got back to their game plan and, basically smothered the Wild for the most part after, they got their, lead after the Ehlers goal and just went from there and did their job. So, if you're Tim Gleason, you got to be happy about that for the fact that even scrambling and being down another defenseman, they still found a way to lock it in and ended up getting the win. So you love to hear that from Walker and just seeing the team, what they've done overall. Now, all that to be said, what did the captain say following the game that saw him get, 17 penalty minutes in his 910th game with the Carolina Hurricanes? Well, stick around. We'll talk about it here in a second on a Friday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. If you've missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score to the next fourth quarter comeback. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team is making that late push, whether if it is your favorite NBA team or maybe just even your fantasy team. So right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Welcome back to segment 3 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. So like I said, the captain, Jordan Staal, is the new all-time leader in games played with the Hurricanes since their relocation with 910, just passing his brother Eric at 909. Step up for Jalen Chatfield after he got hit in the head by Tyler Pillick and did serve 17 minutes worth of penalties, and the Hurricanes were able to give him some very good memories of a win on Thursday against the Minnesota Wild. So what did the captain say after the game? Well, let's jump into that and react to it right now.
The injury to Teddy, and just your response to it.
Yeah, obviously it wasn't a great hit. Didn't like it, and hopefully it's not as bad it looked on the ice for him, and he gets back quick.
Obviously, this group continues to face some adversity with these injuries. What have you seen from the resiliency of this blue line?
Yeah, the blue line's been tough. They've been fighting and working hard and finding ways and digging in, and it's been good to see. And it's like I said, resilience is a key word there for those guys. And as forwards, we're trying to help as much as we can and continue to play simple games. They don't have to play in their D zone too much, but it's been tough going. But hopefully get those guys back quick.
For a guy that prides himself on structure and discipline in the game and all that, how hard is it to be watching all those goals back and forth and while you're in the box?
Yeah. 4-on-4 has been kind of on and off for us, and nice to see us get a few and answer right back. And it's not going to always be perfect, and it's never going to be a perfect coach's game all the time. And I think the guys, like I said, answered the bell quickly and found ways to use their skill and find ways to get goals and get back into it right away.
Well, another big milestone night for you, 910 games. Your teammates had some wonderful things to say, so congratulations on that one. To celebrate it with them at the end, what does this mean to you?
Yeah, it's great. Appreciate the boys battling it out for me there and getting a good memory out of a big milestone game. And glad we got the 2 points. It's been a fun ride. It's been a lot of fun with these guys here, and then all the other teammates I've played with. It's been such a joy and a blessing, and just happy to keep going.
been 8 years since your last fight. Now this time you got to go home and your kids are going to be like, Dad, what's going on?
Yeah, they might have watched that first period too. I mean, I think it's just about protecting your teammates and being there for each other. I think that's might be a tricky one to explain to a 5-year-old, but I think he'd understand, and hope Shai's getting back soon.
When you have the final 2 minutes there, 6-on-5, it feels like you guys are running on fumes. What's kind of going through your mind? What's the mindset trying to get through that 5-minute stretch?
Yeah, it's just a matter of grinding it out and keeping the puck to the outside, trying not to get to the net, and really just giving it all you got, whatever juice you got left. And I thought the boys did a great job at the end, keeping the chance to a minimum and find a way to get 2 points.
Big thank you to the captain, Jordan Staal, and the Carolina Hurricanes. And it's interesting to hear from him, too, about just the fact that, after the hit from Pitlick on Chatfield, he didn't like it, and he stepped up and, took care of, he got the win. And it's funny the fact that it's like how you try to explain it to a 5-year-old and your kids about that fight because he hasn't fought in 8 seasons. And, you can just tell from, how he was talking about it, he's trying to smile and just laugh about it. It's like, yeah, how are you going to, try to explain it? But I think he said it perfectly. It's just sticking up for your teammate and do what you need to do and stuff like that. So it's good to hear from the captain. It's like, hey, I haven't fought in 8 seasons, but, you got to do what you got to do as the captain, especially trying to protect one of your teammates from a hit like that. And then, just a big milestone night for him. And, I like the fact that he's talking about, the teammates that he's currently with on the Hurricanes now and all the guys in the past since he got traded from the Pittsburgh Penguins in the middle of the dark ages for the Canes and all that. It's still crazy to think that he's been here that long already and he's already up to 910 games with the Carolina Hurricanes. But, big milestone night. It's good the fact that the team gave him some memories and, got the win. And you have to imagine that was so tough for him to sit in that box for 17 minutes, watching a lot of 4-on-4 where that's not really the Hurricanes' bread and butter, but we're able to come out and get the win and shut it down and even playing on fumes late in that period too. So, like I said, it was a big gutsy win from the Carolina Hurricanes. You'd wish that was a game where you kind of put it away early, especially with the Minnesota team that on paper is scoring goals on the power play, and that's kind of what that's how they're mainly winning, especially as of late. They're not really a good 5-on-5 team, but it's just one of those things where 4-on-4 goals, power play goals, and stuff like that. And at one point, I think the Wild had like 2 goals on 2 shots and like 3 goals on 4 shots. So it's just one of those things where you kind of wish it was a little bit cleaner. You probably want to put that game away a lot sooner than have it go down to a nail biter where you're scrambling for the last 2 minutes. But hey, you know what? A win's a win. They don't ask how, they ask how many. And now the Hurricanes are 9-4 on the season after 13 games. They have the Sabres on Saturday before they go to Toronto on Sunday for the quick little back-to-back on the home and road. And then move on from there. But like I said, big win for the Hurricanes. Freddie gets his 5th of the season. Sean Walker's on, a nice little point run right now. 4 points in 2 games, back-to-back games with a goal. Nikolaj Ehlers, back-to-back games with a goal as well for him, so he's on a nice little run. Aho and Jarvis, man, 12 points for both of those guys. You love to see that. And Jackson Blake gets another goal, too, to firmly stay in 3rd on the team in points. So overall, just a great night for a lot of guys. And like I said, it was a total team gutsy win that, you lose Jalen Chatfield early. You're scrambling with 5 defensemen once again because the blue line, for a reason, has got some bad voodoo on it. So hopefully whatever curse is on that group hopefully gets lifted soon because I don't know if Tim Gleason wants to have his blood pressure go up every night, having to keep losing a lot of his guys. And I know Rod doesn't either because I know they're pretty much sick of having to keep losing guys after you just get someone back. So hopefully, it's not as bad for Jalen Chatfield as it looked on the ice. Hopefully he's not gone for long, and, hopefully he's going to be okay. Once again, next man for the Carolina Hurricanes. But overall, good back-to-back wins to, kind of supplement the loss against Boston on Saturday. Now you're 2-1 in November, 9-4 overall. Now you move on to the next one against the Sabres on Saturday. But until then, guys, this will be the Friday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Thank you for making your first listen of the day. For your second listen, check out Locked On NHL Game Night. Every game, every night until a Stanley Cup champion is crowned. Get local analysis on a national scale, financial game night on Locked On NHL on YouTube, or roasted to your podcast. If you want to keep up with me, I'm at OneShareZach on X. The podcast is L_Hurricanes. I'm also on Blue Sky, the Zachary Martin. Where if you click the link tree in my bios, you can find all of my written content at thehockeywriters.com. I've been putting out a lot of articles recently, previews, recaps, talking about Alexander Nikishin, now how he's been playing, and everything else in between. So make sure you check that out at thehockeywriters.com. If you want to check out my other podcasts, it's the Searchcast on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. For Locked On Hurricanes, we're on Spotify, Google, Apple, iHeartRadio, wherever you listen to your podcast. Make sure to leave a 5-star rating or review because I might just read it on the show. For YouTube, it's Locked On Hurricanes. All right, this is notifications. Well, share with other Caniacs to become everydayers just like you. But hope everyone enjoyed the Friday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Enjoy your Friday and enjoy your weekend. And until next time, as always, let's go, Canes.